Radio.
Get ready to have your mind stimulated to the next level. You're tuned into Karma's Come Around with your sexy, crazy, cool host, Karma the Media Diva. Every Wednesday night, 8 to 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Follow us on Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, and YouTube at Karma's Come Around. This is our truth. What's yours? What's up, everybody, internet world? It's your girl, Karma the Media Diva, coming to you live from Baltimore. What's up to Atlanta IBNX Network, iHeart, Spotify, we're everywhere. Nick, what's up? You good? I haven't been here in a while. You've changed up a lot of stuff, right? Look, he's over there multitasking. That's Nick for you, boy. You guys, thank you for tuning in today. I have been on a little bit of a hiatus. What's called life, bills, work,
and bullshit.
That too. You know what? We were just talking about that. How you always keep it real with me.
All the time.
And I kind of don't like this new setup. I'm gonna tell you why.
Why? Because you gotta look at me.
Yeah, no.
You closer to me. That's why you don't like it. It's some bullshit.
No, because you was here, like you was across the room, so I can look directly at you. Now I have to turn around.
That's right.
And look at you.
That's right. You don't gotta look at me when you talk to me. I'm cross-eyed. You forgot?
I'm done with you. I'm done with you. But I like the setup. It's really good.
It's flowy fishing.
You missed me?
Fuck no.
I ain't miss your fat ass anyway, you guys, I have a great show for you. It is a 2-hour special, a very important special. So the month of May was mental health awareness. And it dawned on me that, just like Black History Month, that's something that we should celebrate every month. And the same as mental health awareness. And I hope tonight that we share some good information with you guys tonight and shed light on some things. One of the things that I've learned about it is the first step is to talk about it. So I definitely will be sharing some stories personally about some things that I've had happen to me throughout my lifetime. And I have some great guests here tonight to share some of their stories as well as things that they're working on. And I'm going to go through the name. And there's one particular person, no, there's two people that I don't want to mess up their names. But I got checked today, so I hope I say it right. But one of the person's easy name is Kyle. Hi, you're so high. Is this your first time on radio? No. It isn't? You seem shy. You're not? That means you're going to talk a lot tonight, right? Okay. So we have Kyle Barkley here today. He is a mental health therapist, author, and founder of For Us Initiative.
Yes.
Okay, awesome. And then we have Okay, I'm gonna get it.
Remember that I.
Akio.
Yep, you got
Evans.
Evans.
Got it. Yes.
JJ Evans.
And listen, I had to write down all your titles.
Did you?
Yes, you got a long. Okay. Creative director of Akio's, teacher, writer, director, and filmmaker of Key to the City films.
Indeed.
Correct.
Indeed.
Did I get everything?
Yes, you did. Absolutely.
Actually, so real quick, you was on my show. It's been about a year and a couple of months.
It has been.
And those titles added up since then.
It has. I've been had those titles. It's just that, I started to own them per se, because I'm getting like advice from others, but like a lot of my friends, they was like, "Hey man, you do both, continue to do both." Because I'm the type of person, as you may know, Kyle. It's like when you're focused and doing something, you want to give it your all, you want to give it your best, but not knowing that I have been doing those things in different spurts that has allowed me to be somewhat of an expert in that field. So, it's but with mental health, it is tied into like when life hits you. Yeah. Whereas though, like when you're juggling all those talents and all those skills, because I know you're just not a writer, I know you're just not. So, but it's hard to even tackle those things. But eventually, I feel like you'll cross that bridge or you'll find yourself to doing what God has intended you to do.
Right.
And miraculous things happen from that when you weather the storm. So that's pretty much it. But we'll get into it.
And to piggyback off you said, as far as when we're juggling all of that, on top of our just business titles, a lot of us are mothers, fathers, caregivers, sisters, brothers, things like that. And you taking the factor of what you're going through in your business life, and then you also have things that's going on in your personal life, which will bring upon, of course, mental illness. The other guest that I have coming in shortly that's the other person. I didn't want to mess up his name. He's coming in soon, but I believe it's called Daiwi. I believe he had it spelled out on his social media, and he's the director of the GROW program. I'm really excited to speak to him because I had an opportunity to speak to him briefly over the phone in introduction to having him on the show, and he spoke very passionately about his program and what his whole purpose is. And so I don't want to spoil that. I actually want the listeners to hear what I heard in his voice when he talked about his mission and things that he's doing within the community. And so I want to go first with Kyle.
Hello.
So Kyle, he has a book called The Wake. And I'm going to be honest, I'm not even going to lie. I got halfway through the book because life and work. But it's really good. So I don't tell me the ending, and that way it will force listeners to go get the book and find out the ending themselves.
So I should not tell you about the massive horde of robots in the book.
Really? No. But tell us a little bit about the book, without giving away too much.
So the book takes place in Baltimore. It follows the family dynamics and social economic challenges of the inner city family, touching briefly on like different subjects like complicated grief, depression, child molestation, and gentrification. That much I could give.
Well, can I say a little bit of what I read?
Okay.
Is that fair enough? Even though I said don't tell too much.
No, go for it.
There's a particular story about a young man, and it kind of relates to what's been going on within the last 5, 10, 15 years of our young men getting shot by the police. Yeah. And one of the young men in the story, his mother, he's top of the line as far as playing football, correct? And he wants to make some money for prom, but his grades are failing, so his coach pretty much told him, you can't play until you get those grades back up. And so he made an agreement with the coach and said, okay, if I do that, can you loan me out your car, because he wants to go to prom. The coach agreed to it. Then he went to his mother to let her know, hey, I got a car. And she's like, how do you get a car? I don't have the money to help you with it. He was like, well, can I get a job? And then she was like, you can't get a job because I'm getting assistance. And if I get assistance, they're going to make me pay more and reduce, my benefits. And that part, because I'm going to let people know, honestly, I've gotten assistance before. And for you to be that detailed about it, because that's exactly what they do. The system, for some reason, they have it set up where it seems like they're helping you, but they're actually holding you back. But due to the circumstances, he couldn't go get a job. And so he ended up going out, bumping into an old friend of his, and the friend was like, hey, I've been placing bets on the games, and you haven't been playing. And so he felt like, it was his fault that he lost money, so he forced him to go help him rob a restaurant. He ended up shooting the guy, but the young man didn't shoot him. But when he went out to run out the store, the police saw him with the gun, and they shot him. And I was like, that's real. And that's one of the reasons why your book took me by surprise, because it's realistic. Even though you said that it's not 100%, based on someone, but just the story itself seemed real. Yeah. Very real. And it touched me. So I just want to say that I'm not saying nothing else about what I read. Y'all gonna have to get the book.
You was really on it.
Because that story got me, it really did get me. So what made you, with that piece, Did you know someone personally?
Yeah, a lot of someone's actually that's been in very similar situations I know of. So that's how I kind of came to that, and that story actually goes deeper as you read on, because the coach, you'll learn more about him. And I'm actually working on another book now called The Void, and it's going to go deeper into that whole story all by itself, even with the police and community dynamic, because this book briefly glosses over that, but I really wanted to go into like the community and police dynamic.
Is that the sole purpose of the book?
Of this book? Or
Yes, this book, The Wake.
No, the sole purpose of this book is really bringing awareness to like social economic challenges and how these things really impact us. All the way down to like we keep secrets, like as far as our community. Whether you go to church or whether you don't. I grew up in the church, and I could tell you there's a lot of people who I know personally that have church hurt, common term, but really that's trauma. But we just figured out a nice way to dress up the term trauma by using the term church hurt. So, and a lot of that comes from situations of molestation or things like that, and because people have certain statuses, they don't speak on it. Or because of the person who's doing it, it kind of gets swept under the rug. So with this, I kind of wanted to create dialogue within our community where it could be open to talk about issues that we still are haunted by, or that hold us back.
And what about your program? Tell us a little bit about that.
So the Force Initiative is a two-part program. One part is we provide housing to homeless families, like victims of domestic violence, and just homeless mothers with children. And the other part is the PX program, which is we provide preventative care type therapy with adolescents. So like to give them an opportunity not to drop out of school or to not fall victim to the streets, for lack of a better term. Like do mentorship, do mentorship, and we also have this IT program now where we can teach kids for a few months. We teach kids the A+ certification course, and they could go on and make some real money. So,
that phone is really loud.
Yeah.
Before it leaves out of my head, and I'll probably bring it back up, you said that a part of your program helped with mothers, with homeless mothers have a place to stay. Is that what it is?
Yes.
Okay. So when I was a child, there was a point where we lived in a shelter. A couple of times we stayed in the shelter, and it was with my mother and my siblings, and she was coming out of a domestic relationship with her ex-husband that she had been with for over 10 years. But the thing about it is that wasn't the only time we stayed in the shelter. There was times we stayed in the shelter when she was with him. And, you know, as we go along throughout the day, I'll share more stories, but the overall picture is that when people meet me and they get to know me, they would never think that I came from that type of a background, that I, growing up grew up in a household where there was domestic violence. I grew up in a household where there was drug abuse. We were homeless a lot. There was times where we lived out in California, and we were parked in the car on the beach, and I'm doing my homework over the street light, and we went into the beach stalls, and that's how we washed up, took our showers, and went to school. That was a majority of my life growing up as a child. And then I ended up being a teenage mother. But you never would have, thought that that's how I was brought up. And a lot of times some people don't end up succumbing to their environment, but then there's some people who do. But a lot of those organizations that I came across was helpful to me. And that alone makes me, that's why a lot of times when I have the time, I go and I volunteer, because you never know when you'll make that difference to that one person or that particular family. And then you're a mental health therapist.
Yes.
How long have you been?
I've been working in this field since 2009.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So since 2009, I've been a therapist. Case manager first, and a therapist. So I work with the homeless population, healthcare for the homeless, and also work with crisis response.
Okay, so we're gonna go on a quick music break. What kind of music you gonna play? Cause I ain't been here in a while. Oh, your mic is off. You slacking, Nikki Pooh?
We might go to some house so we don't get blocked.
Who be blocking us?
Facebook, the government, Trump be blocking me.
Well, I thought when we did a little mix, you know, they I could keep it. That don't work no more. They done found it. Yep. No more loopholes.
They done caught up with us.
Damn. All right, so Nick, go ahead and take us to a commercial
Okay,
break.
got
You guys stay tuned. We have some more discussions coming up with our other guests that just stepped in.
Said you were my lady, and your love was true. But as soon as I turned my back, baby, look what you're going to do. Start sneaking at tea, using me like a tool. Now I know the deal, I can see right through you. I said, you ain't really down, playing the games you do. I said, you ain't really down. Your love was never true. Your love was never true. Would have bet my life on it. I would have taken all this time. That you were the one for me, baby. How could I be so blind? Gave all my love and you used and abused it. Broke my heart like there was nothing to it. Oh, you ain't really down. Playing the games you do. I said, oh, you ain't really down. Your love was never true. Your love was never true. No, I said, oh, you ain't really down. Playing the games you do. Ain't really down. Your love was never true. Your love was never true. There were times I wondered if I was insane. Oh, baby. I simply let my teardrops fall like rain. Oh, baby. But when I kissed your lips, the clouds began to roll away. Still got my views, ooh, down through my fingertips. I feel the happiness each day. Oh, my mama said to me, she told me, son, love goes where you take it. So stay with the spirit, boy. I feel that you gonna make it, yeah. Got me wondering, yeah. Got me wondering, yeah. Got me wondering, yeah.
Vegas, everybody that's out there listening, you're listening to Comments Come Around on Mix Station Radio.
Got me wondering, yeah. Got me wondering,
You messed that up, Mike. You messed up the mic, Nick. Hey, everybody. You're tuned into Comments Come Around. It's your girl, Karma the Media Diva. And tonight we are having our 2-hour special in reference to mental health awareness. I have Kyle Barkley, Akio Evans and Diawee. How do you say your last name? Sewell.
Kind of like SOOL, like Sewell.
Sewell. So, you know, I'm gonna be all, you know, hood and ask where is that from? What that's like a special name, last name. Like,
Yeah.
I ain't gonna say my real last name, only certain people know, but my last name is particular, but it is Hispanic, so
The origin of my name, I really don't have that answer. So I like to give like this like enchanted, you know, deep philosophical. Nah, I really don't know. I have a lot. I hear there's a lot of Sewells down in like the Eastern Shore, and I would love to like you know, follow genealogy and see what's up with that. But nah, I don't know.
So you're the director of the GROW program. Can you break down what GROW stands for?
Yeah, GROW is an acronym. It stands for Getting Ready for Obstacles in the World.
Awesome. How long has the program been around?
The program has been around for about 5 years as it's structured now. I've been mentoring for about 10 years or more. But the GROW program itself and the way it's structured now has been operating for about 5.
Okay, great. And so I saw you and Kyle over there chatting it up. You real good. So what was that all about?
Yeah.
Because I wanted to interrupt you and say that for the air, because y'all was networking, and I love networking because that's what it's about.
Yeah, because I have another company, GROW Community Care. So the GROW program has been mentoring boys for years, right? And that's dealing with like the behavior stuff. I'm in the community, I'm in the schools, but I'm also adding another component. So I started another company, GROW Community Care, which will deal with behavioral health, which will deal with the psych side of things. And when he told me he's a therapist, I'm like, I keep running across these brothers that's therapists, right?
We out here.
Yeah.
That's
definitely.
a sign.
Definitely.
That's a sign.
It is.
Blessing.
Yeah, because I had this thought, right? So in all the schools I've been working at, right, I'm always around these amazing sisters, these amazing women that are therapists, right, and are providing these services to our boys, right, which is amazing, right? But I was just like, what if I had some male therapists, some brothers, right? And I just keep running across them. And as soon as I sat down, he's like, yeah, I'm a therapist. I'm like, yo, what up? What's up?
And the author.
Yeah, and the author. Okay, cool.
Yeah, of his book, The Wake.
Oh, cool.
I mean, we can still go back and talk about it. We went over it briefly. And then Akio, Mr. Multi-Titles.
Yeah, a lot of titles.
So tell me, what have you been up to within been a year? Like you said, a year.
About a year and
you
a
was
half.
on the show last.
I've been doing a lot since I've been on the show last. I've still been doing the custom arts with the sneakers, and also been teaching and mentoring. And I've been doing that often, a little bit more than I thought I would be. Because I mean, you know, technically I don't have like the what do you call it? The education as far as like but it's not about education I'm learning. It's about experience. It's about, because people can have the education as well, but they're not
and lack the
contributing their
experience.
time. You know, so there's power in that. But I've also been doing a few events that's about to come up with some sneaker paint nights. And what's crazy about me and my friend, my kid, she just graduated from Micah, my kid Hughley. We just had a meeting last Friday discussing that our first event, we will like it to base around mental health.
Nice. Okay.
Right? So when you come to a sneaker paint event, you're more so actually having an experience. We wanted to kind of like, we're in the midst of now deciding whether we want to implement alcohol in it, right?
Okay.
Because nothing against it, but we don't want people to have that show, because being that mental health is a sensitive topic that people don't want to talk about. But when you have alcohol, you are what do you call it? You're suppressing your thoughts, and you're holding back.
Loosey-goosey.
And you might not actually talk about the things you've been through with child molestation or homelessness and all
get
these
more
other
relaxed.
things. So you be more relaxed. So
Right.
we want you to lay out all your thoughts. So I'll keep you up to speed with that. But for the most part, it's been a lot going on. I've been able to make been commissioned to make artwork for Kevin Hart, Dave Chappelle, Nick Cannon, and it's been. And then I look at those me being able to kind of do those for those people is just for the kids. They think that I'm some type of rapper. They think that I'm like a athlete, and I say, hey, you can build your own lane and kind of still get the same attention and or whatever you want, for that matter. But I look at it as a tool, and I'm grateful by the grace of God He's been able to put me in a position, because even when I was talking to Kevin Hart, I was like, hey man, like I had a little time to do your shoes. He's like, nah, stop it. He said, your shoes are dope, man. Stop that.
Sound like him too.
And he said, I'm not gonna let you do that. And it's just amazing, because I still, like I told you, I'm a filmmaker, so me be doing that and me being able to film with Derek Spike Lee in my first film, and me just saying, okay, let me leave that alone and do the arts. It's just like, it's blowing my mind of how that window of opportunity is still. And my whole story about being homeless, and I'm sorry, yeah, you did say the bang on the table. But that's the but me being homeless in Phoenix, Arizona years back, and all the stuff that I've been through, even with not even having water in my household, like I dealt with that as well, with growing up in a single parent home, and having all these things that happen. Like imagine, I will get to that, but I want to basically just cover what's going on with me, what you just asked. I can go on and on, but I want to share it.
Yeah, I want to backtrack for a second.
Yeah,
you
please.
talked about not having education.
Mm-hmm.
Well, listen, like you said, it's about about the experience. I have no education. I created my own opportunities. As a matter of fact, me creating the companies that I created was due to me not having education and knowing that I had to create my own way. My story is a whole story, you know what I mean? Wow. And the way I transitioned, but some people think I went to college or something. I'm like, oh, you don't know the story.
Same here. I didn't go to
You don't know
college.
the story.
I did when I was a teenage mother,
Mm-hmm.
so I was able to graduate, attempted college.
Okay.
But again, when you're a single mother, and I really didn't have that much family to support me, it was a lot. If I had someone to help babysit my son at the time, then I would be able to put more time in school, but I couldn't. I attempted twice, and it didn't work out. And then now that I'm older, I've been taking courses at Howard Community College, but I have not officially gotten a college degree. But again, I went and got my business license for my business, for my radio show, things like that. And that was a big step for me to feel more of ownership of what I'm doing within my life as far as being an entrepreneur. But like you just said, when I come across people, they think that, I had a college degree, and it's like, no, what I've been through is what got me here and motivated me to have ownership of what I'm doing in my life, and then share it with the students that I work with at my job to let them know, because I work at the C School of Maryland.
Okay.
So it's a college preparatory boarding school. So we always make sure that we motivate our kids. That's the whole concept of them going to college. But I'm quick to tell my kids, I don't have a degree, and they're surprised. And I was like, but I'm working towards it. But to use my story and let them know, you don't want to make the same mistakes that I made, But at the same time, I also feel like college may not necessarily be for everybody.
Right.
Some kids just, sometimes I feel like we set them up to fail. Not I'm saying about my job, but just kids in general. When we say that, listen to what they have to say, because some of them really know what they want. And they're like, I don't think college is for me. And then you find alternatives for them to reach their goals. So I definitely agree with you about, education is not everything. It's not for everybody. You can still reach your goals and do, go towards your dreams.
Absolutely.
Here's the thing. You say education. So, I'm well educated, right? I just didn't go through that left brain analytical structure that's in place for us, right? Because Jawanza Kunjufu, I read his books. I was trying to learn how to teach my boys, but I learned so much about myself, right? So that structure and that system isn't really for us. We don't thrive in that system. But luckily, every business I've created, I always had a person like her partnering with me, right? So even like right now, getting ready for this carve situation, we going through the carve book, and I just like to read aloud. I love to read, period. But what I do is I sit there and I read aloud, and then we discuss all the sections, and she breaks it down in clinical terms, because the stuff she can break down, like her degrees and all that stuff, she's ridiculous, right? Lanice Stevenson. Let me speak to the queen, right? My nonprofit, she helped me structure it. Now we're doing the mental health. She helped me structure it. All my business moves because. So like Henry Ford, Henry Ford didn't go to college, man. He wasn't going to no college. That just wasn't his thing. He was going to partner with people that went to college and had the structural corporate mindset, right? And then, like me, I'm a big vision person, right? But without that other side of the brain to help you bring these things together, you're just not going to get very far. But I'm so off track. Where we at?
No,
No, you was fine.
no, you was perfectly fine.
Oh,
This is the
okay.
information that I want my listeners to hear. So please, by all means. That's
Oh.
why I said initially I was going to do this for an hour, but that little voice in my head said, no, this is too much of a big conversation for it to be an hour. There's no way we're going to cover everything. And so I said we're going to do a 2-hour special.
Yeah.
And so, Kyle, what do you think about, what's your thoughts about the whole education?
I see the benefits of it, but when we were off air, we talked briefly about college, and we just talked about the opportunities. So I could go back to myself. So I'm a graduate of Douglas High School. So I remember when I graduated, I didn't know what I wanted to do in life. Like, I was good at computers, but it was like, is that what I want to do? Yeah. And it was like, music was my thing. We talked right before we started. Like, I was always in the studio. I even opened up a studio at one point. But that's not long term. Younger me, you couldn't tell me nothing. but
That's with all of us.
right. So it was like, well, I went to Coppin, and while I'm there, I was like, I don't know what I want to do. Like, I'm just going to class, and for the first year, going through the cycle of what I've been doing for 12 years prior. And I was like, dude, I don't know what I want to do. It's like, so then you start to look at what you see around you. So only thing you see people like us doing is school teachers or maybe a counselor, a guidance counselor here and there, or like police officer, whatever have you, like that. But you don't really see. I didn't know of all the other jobs, so it didn't happen until later on in life. When I was 26, I think it was, I started working at LifeBridge at Sinai Hospital, and I worked in patient transportation. And from there, I worked in the MRI. And I'm talking to people there, and this person was like, yeah, dude, I only did like a 15, 18-month course and to do this job right here. I'm just pushing a button. I'm getting paid $35, $40 an hour. I was like, wait, what?
I say that again?
And I'm looking at like the supervisor. Mind you, I'm in college at the time. Like I think at the time when I was at MRI, I just graduated from Sojourner Douglas College, and I started at Morgan. So I'm going to grad school at Morgan, and I'm like, wait, how much you making? So now, of course, me being who I am, I'm asking other people who aren't my color questions like, so what do you? So how much do you make? You know what I mean? Like,
right.
And what's odd is like some people are very open and honest. So my supervisor, again, in the same boat, no college experience, any background like that, other than getting that certification, was in the same boat.
Okay.
I'm like, wait, time out. I got more education than you, and you're making more than me, and you're just pushing a button and watching Netflix for 35 minutes and just telling the person don't move. So I was like, maybe we were programmed wrong, or we just didn't know any better. Like, what's going on? Like,
Right.
how is it that these opportunities that they know of, but we don't? So as we was talking about before, when we went on a short break, that's one of the things I'm passionate about doing. So currently I serve on the State Central Committee. I just won a re-election back last July of last year. And
Congrats.
Yeah, congratulations.
Oh, thanks. That's a whole story all by itself. But I was sharing, like, I don't plan on running for re-election at all, but I want to do a lot of community work, like to really invest in the community, like really build up a socio-economic situation and status. Like, I want to reinforce like black home ownership in the city and create like rural pride. And one of the things I want to do about that is like really getting in contact with places like LifeBridge and John Hopkins, and like getting them really involved in our high schools, like so that way we can actually build up like the next generation to actually have gainful employment, and from that gainful employment is tax dollars in our community. And if that money touches hand more than once in the community, then we got a stronger say-so on what we want, like as far as education, housing, things like that. So,
Diary, when we had spoke over the phone, and I said it before you came in here, that conversation I had with you over the phone, it was a good one. Let me tell you why. Because I heard the passion in your voice about your work in the community. So I'm going to say it again. I want you to express that to my listeners, because I want them to hear that. Because you know how sometimes when you want to try to relay a message, you can't say exactly what the other person said. So can you give my listeners, you know, your idea of the meaning of actually making the effort to make a change in your community?
So I was saying that I'm all about results. Like I'm really focused on results, right? And how to make a real change. And I think I may even have shot you a short video. If not,
Yes,
I
you
did.
Two
Okay,
of them.
perfect.
Yes, and I watched it.
Okay, good. So in that short video that I shot her, it was and Trey, he's an adult, so he doesn't mind me using his name, but it was about one of my boys, Trey. And the short video talks about how Trey got kicked out of the house, and he was like, "Yo, I was just out in the streets. I was out there." So, he just trying to eat. So that's when he started, banging. He rocking with the Bloods. And he's like, yo, I'm a low man on the totem pole, so, I'm the one sent on the dummy mission, boom, boom, boom. And so he said he ended up getting jammed up. Jammed up meaning, he getting locked up. So he robbed and he banging pistol and such, right? So I gave Trey an opportunity. I'm like, okay, look, get back with us, because he had interacted with us for a while before. I'm like, yo, get back with us. I'm going to get you back on track. I put together the jobs program. Shout out to Carter's Kitchen. I'm not sure if y'all familiar with Miss Carter's Kitchen. All right. So she's one of our partners. So our boys work with these companies. Miss Carter's Kitchen is one. But we pay the boys, you dig? So it's a good partnership. She gets a free intern, you know what I mean? Mm-hmm. And we'll pay our boys. So basically, once he out in the streets, he robbing, he doing what he doing because he trying to eat, you know what I mean, at the end of the day. So we got to come with real solutions, because you can keep telling people, don't do this, don't do that. Mm-hmm. Ain't nobody trying to hear that when they stomach rumbling, you know what I mean? So what happens is the people that they respect got to come with the opportunities, you know what I mean? So he get with me, he get the job, he even like Miss Carter, you know what I mean? She definitely show love. So that was a good situation. He got the free food, so he happy about that. Yeah. You know what I mean? And we got these incentive-based things where you stand in school, you doing the things you're doing, you going to class, and he's carrying these point sheets, right? And those point sheets are tallied up on a daily basis. On a point sheet is attendance, classwork, these different things, and they come up to points. So at the end of the week, it's accumulated to several things. And me and Beans, the handsome guy on the camera right there.
Beans?
Beans is actually he don't be making fun of my man. That's his real name, Kevin Beans. But so the other business I didn't talk about is the event promotions. Like, as a matter of fact, that's how we fund a lot of this stuff. So even like this Sunday, we got like little shout out real quick. We got the all black party at the Westin by BWI. Ding ding ding. Okay, but we take this money, and this is how we fund a lot of this stuff. And so Beans and I, we've been doing these clothing drives for years. And people that come to our parties, they come to the clothing drive. So they coming with it. You know what I mean? Gucci, Louis belts, all that. And we use this to incentivize. So when a person like Trey, since we talking about Trey, let's just keep him in the mix. When he stayed on track. He can quantify his behavior, like with the point sheet, and be like, all right, boom. At the office now, that's where we're gonna move our school store, to the office, right? Our office is 3610 Milford Mill Road. So they'll be able to come up there because it's literally gonna be tags on the clothes. So the Louis belt is X amount of points. Them Gucci shoes is X amount of points. And when they on track and they doing the things they supposed to be doing, then you can get them items. So basically. We've been criticized sometimes. People say, well, yo, that's materialism. You speaking to that materialism. And I'm like, nah, they already like the things they like. Yeah. I'm trying to make a connection with good behavior and hard work with achieving these things. And furthermore, listen, man, these young boys need their immediate needs met, right? And that's why they messing with the dudes they messing with, because the dudes they messing with can get them some money in their pocket right now. Right. You know what I mean? So they need somebody saying, yo, listen, I understand where you at. They looking at, yo, finish school, go to college, intern, possibly get a good job, and then I can eat? Man, that's too far away. Mm-hmm. They live next to an abandoned building, and they might live in an abandoned building. So they ain't tripping off what you talking about with that. Who feed them right now? And if it's somebody who they respect from a community they respect, moving them in the right direction, then you know what I mean. That's how we get to it. You know, so yeah, that's some of the stuff we was talking about, and that's some of the stuff that I'm passionate about. And we all got this social equity, man. We got to leverage it to get to it right now. You know, we got all these thousands of followers on social media. Well, what we doing? Just like, you know what I mean, being cool, you know what I mean, getting likes, you know what I mean? Right. Like, yo, I tell my followers right now, I got a couple events right now. We playing some events right now, and I'll send it to you. At the office, we doing a watch party for when they see us. When they see us, I saw that on Netflix. So at the watch party, you know, we always got food. It's gonna be catered. We do monetized Q&A. So we break the documentary up in segments. I know it's already broken up in segments, but we break it up even more. Every 20 minutes, we stop and we talk about areas, and you know, we do some Q&A. And I like to challenge thoughts, so I'll monetize some Q&A, see if they're actually paying attention. DTLR has sponsored a lot of our events. So we always got some sneakers on deck, you know. And another event we got coming up is Egypt on the Potomac. So we going to load up a bus, take a whole bunch of boys down to D.C. We already did this a couple times. And that tour, listen, if Egypt on the Potomac, if you have never been to that tour, listen, all the melanated people in the sound of my voice need to go on that tour, because it's going to tell you about your heritage in a way that's going to blow your mind.
I've never even heard of this.
Egypt on the Potomac. And that's the whole goal, man. We got to get information to people that they never heard of, especially these boys that just don't have the right leadership. I mean, it's a lot of fake leaders. They OGs is like 18. Man, yo, I'm tripping. Like, yo, I mean, not knocking none of the gang members, but Bushelman's is 23 and 24. Jay's is 19. How y'all get so high rank up y'all kids and ain't got no money in your pocket?
Right.
You know what I mean? You know, but it's a different culture. But, you know, me and all my homeboys, you know, I'm from West Baltimore. And, you know, I still keep my friends that I came up with. They rock with me. They real close, so they touching the type of people I just mentioned. And it take that kind of leadership with your hands still, you know, in reach, you know. And that's what we doing. So that's what she talked about when she was like, yo, I was passionate. Yes. I was like, look, man, I don't want to just be coming on like talking about, you know, talking about this or that, and I don't want to just be sounding smart. I mean, not that I am smart, but I'm not with those symposiums where everybody just sounds smart. They sit up there, I got this degree, and look at this big word I can use. Nah, man, who life you touching? How you get that boy to stop from banging that pistol? Absolutely. That's all I want to hear about.
Yeah. Right.
You know what I mean?
Right. Thank you. I hope you guys are listening. I love it. Nick, we can go on a commercial break. Not commercial break, a music break.
What's up, everybody? It's your boy Desmond Funny, and you're listening to the baddest, the hottest, the sexiest,
Real Gunslingers
come around show.
Check it out, Jeff.
If you're real, wave your hands in the motherfucking air. All them blunts.
Hey yo, you want lyrics, we'll let the real niggas run it. Whack crews get confronted by the shorty that's blunted, never fronted. You ain't built, I'm from the thorough school. You couldn't fuck around if you had pussy in the whirlpool. I'm swift with this, I burn crews like hoes with syphilis. I slam like doors in the face of Jehovah's Witnesses. Pack the chrome, styles fly like Mrs. Jones. Lyrical mathematics will have the devil smoking stones. I put heads to bed, lick shots and rappers fled. Went to church a few times, now none trying to give me head. Came back to ill shorty from the Ville, you best to tell him. Lyrics busting your brain style, sexing your cerebellum. Some nigga named Kim from the firm, I probably have to splatter. Talking trash about Mac and don't know me from Madam. You ain't real, nigga, so stop yelling hip hop. Loaded up my Glock and robbing bitches in the shop. The squad is annexed, the Cruddy Kid is who I be. Twisting up some sin seed that I got from L&P. You niggas best to wake the fuck up, you in the wrong direction. Guard your grill, you couldn't make it in my fucking section. That's how it's going down.
In this life ain't nothing promised.
So we gotta live every day as if death was right behind us. So we never find us. Faking no jacks, making moves to prepare for the ultimate war. And
the fourth scene saga, in life alone it be drama, the street honor. As if be molding your persona. Life is kinda hot, like we all live in a sauna. You sleepwalkers need to rise up out of their pajamas. It's the last days upon the creep, peep the horizon. I mean, it's like cats see it, but not realizing. Vivid, like it's advertising through all the agonizing. Cats don't stop and take a minute to pray. Beginning the day, as we rise before the break of dawn. State of Islam holding me down firm, weather the storm. The firstborn, I paved the way for my kinfolk. And if it gets thick, I clear the smoke when I hear you choking. Provoke, I guess the Lord must be kitty coming. State of the world today, and have your packing gunnins. And trust nada, the snakes are known to disguise. Camouflaged amongst the righteous like parasites, they survive.
And this life ain't nothing promised. So we gotta live every day as if death was right behind us. So you never find us. Faking no jacks, we making moves to prepare for the ultimate war. And I shall improve. And this life ain't nothing promised. So we gotta live every day as if death was right behind us. So you never find us. Faking no jacks, we making moves to prepare for the ultimate war. Everybody wants.
Tonight's the night we fight, but the firm beats some eyes. Choose your weapon, got ammunition for MCs to think the top Manslaughter be the thought of this Maryland massacre. The raw rap occurred until to make that next snap and spur. Put your mind in a state of spectacular. Have women sprung like a bachelor in an Acura. My asthmatic attack will have you coughing. Reorganize your organs while playing an organ, cause you're orphan. Back from me to Boston, coffins in your living quarters. My rhymes run deep like still waters. Niggas need to sit calm like Frazier and Seinfeld. Held to record keys, my other mind spelled. It's the kid that's known for his fat hooks. Plus I got my rhymes and you got eraser marks up in your rap books. Bet your ass shook from the note from my heart. My punctuation quicker than commas. The quotation marks have they minds pulling them semicolons. Predicates, medics, let the crowd change. I split into some better shit. Tonight's the night we fight, but the firm beats some minds. Choose your weapon, got ammunition for MCs to think they top C. Pork chop, reign supreme, destroy the whole thing. Tonight's the night we fight, but the firm beats some minds. Choose your weapon, got ammunition for MCs to think they top C. Pork chop, reign supreme, destroy the whole thing. Foolish mortals, beat immortal using mortars. The king of son and daughters. My rhymes say immaculate, chop the fat and shit. Hamstrings and fibulas intact, so don't need to pack a whip. Cruise I'm defeating, you may be shitting, but kid I'm excretion and yawn. On some other type of shit that you ain't used to be doing. You're raw, like ancient Greece, watch me release. How you gonna come when you ain't nothing? Hit ya.
Set it on, let's begin, feel me murder with pens. LMS rising again, mixing pleasure with sense. As we release the energy that destroys fakes and enemies.
Smoking Mary Jane, laced with Hennessy.
So my head is spinning lighter now. Look forbidden rhyme writing now. Getting higher now, rolling B's a lot tighter now. It's rappers telling true lies, they getting too high. Lacing Buddha, me and Eve feeling the moolah. Eric Nella be the other one with the heater. The hell breather, with LMS making Velveeta. It's destined with no guessing or questions. We keep it chesting, it's nobody that we be less than. I sit and look back, pride no one has ever took that in recent living. It's the religion of being forbidden. Forever kid, pumping twigs with my niggas. Avoid jail biz until the last day that I live.
Flip 100 grand, now it's time to master these plans. Seeing dream homes and lands covered by Arabian sands. My life is different, seeing gold streets and future distance. Dollars for demons while my destiny is slowly twisting. On top of this, apocalypse and Armageddon coming. While y'all be running, words for nothing, never heard me fronting what you wantin'. I keep it still in a tight grip, in case I gotta break right quick. In terms of life, time for static. My inner wisdom gives me timeless tactics. With automatics at your cabbage, what's the real son? Who's real son? The murderers or the money makers? The undertakers or the outer state of shit is real? Hectic or not, who gets respected on blocks? Russian spots, keep your head on your Glock. Guard your knot to the highest stature. The taste of living is stale. Sipping air with my oldest kid telling his tale about incarceration. The lease of bail in the commissary. His commentary got me vexed on old text, but still I worry about the seas we breathe.
And the seeds that we breed got needs, infinite mouths to feed. It's all the same, money make it maintain. Seeking plateaus and plains where it rains champagne. Eric now left for Biggie, still the show goes on. We forever holding on, Baltimore stand strong. Bring the bad sort of rap so you will get scarred. Cause the foundation that we standing on knocks hard. And still 365 beats round. Represent your town with the great trade pound. Baltimore hold it down, spend my days lifted. Mind stays shifted, mad shells get evicted. Hold up, pull over, peep the Range Rover. Grand Cherokees, Camrys, to Mitsubishis. Look at this movie looking, flexing a bigger GS's from Lexus and Chrome BBS. Young nigga, acting hyper, pushing a Viper, feeling superior with some black leather interior. I can cruise land in a Dodge Caravan. How can you limit me if I purchase an Infinity? I want the
What's good, everybody? You are tuned in to Karma's Come Around, and it's your girl, Karma the Media Diva. You are tuned in to listening to our 2-hour special based on mental health awareness. I have my guest, Akio. I got it right.
Yes,
hey,
you did. Better.
Diary and Kyle. You guys
what's up?
Good?
Excellent.
I'm going to keep saying it. I love the networking when we go on breaks. You guys need to see it. So let's get into mental health. I did a little bit of my research, and I am all ears tonight for you guys to educate me and my listeners, because I feel like when I was doing my research, there's so much stuff that you can read about, and then it just gets, a little bit confusing, and it's like, okay, and then I start feeling like, ooh, let me take some notes and this and that. So I actually did my little, my little cheat sheet.
Okay.
So I noticed that it's a couple of them. It's a lot. I didn't know a lot of them go up under the category. So we have the adult mental health, which is anxiety disorder, bipolar, of course, depression. I didn't know eating disorders was up under that as well. And then we have the child and adolescent mental health issues, which is ADHD, and again, anxiety disorders, autism. I didn't know that was categorized up under that. And of course, depression, learning disabilities, things like that. So I'm going to go straight to the mental health therapist to give us a brief spectrum of mental health.
Mental health is a very complex and delicate thing at the same time, because there's so many different ways to fall into it. Of course, there's the trauma aspect. There's the separation aspect as well, because there's a lot of different factors that could go into it. There's somebody's upbringing that impacts it. There's like a very traumatic event that could happen, such as like complicated grief. Like somebody could lose their loved one, and that loved one was the caregiver for the family. So all of a sudden, now your whole family's in peril because this one person that was the person that was taking care of the mortgage or the rent, or whose Social Security benefit was taking care of all the bills of the house, or voucher was taking care of the house, is now gone. So nobody else's name is on the voucher, so now that changes everything. So on top of you being able to grieve from this person passing, now you're dealing with the effects of this person passing. Also look at divorce. Divorce is another thing, because it doesn't just affect spouses, it affects the children. So that separation anxiety and depression that comes along with that, because it's a whole adjustment. So it affects a lot of different categories. Substance abuse usage, like number one, something has to happen to trigger somebody to want to use. Like nobody wakes up in the morning like, hey, you know what? I'm going to do crack. You know that I keep hearing about it. Let's try that crack out.
Right.
You don't jump into that. You have a certain thing that you expect when you do something. Like, not telling on myself, but there's a lot of people who I know who smoke marijuana. Mm-hmm. You already have a idea of the effect that you're going to get from marijuana usage before you even smoke, right?
Right.
Social learning theory, right?
Right.
Social learning behavior. So you know what you're going to get. Why do you want to get to that point? Same thing with any other narcotic or anything else. Like, why do you want to get to that place? There's something that you're trying to suppress, and there's something that was introduced to you that probably wasn't normal, which caused you to want that thing. You know what I mean? Like, even something as little as drinking. Like, I know a lot of people who go to work, come home, drink wine.
I do.
Exactly. Not knocking nobody.
The red sweet wine.
But what led you to get to that point where that
A very stressful day.
Exactly my point. And that became a coping mechanism to a stressful day. So, like I said, mental health is a very, very delicate but complex thing.
Yeah.
Yes.
You know, it's funny. Lanice and I was at the office and I had to rush to help her with some things. But it was a stressful day the other day, and I was like, man, I want to go out. I want to have a drink. But I personally, and not to kind of pat myself on the back, but my personal thing because we was going to go out, and I was like, nah, I really need to go to sleep early because my thing is I like to stretch for like an hour, 2 hours, and I like to hit that gym. That's my thing. That's my life, right? So I knew that if I hung out, which was going to be fun, and which was going to get me what I needed right then and there, my long term, like, you know, how I like to wake up 4 a.m. in the morning. You know, I wake up 4 a.m. in the morning.
I'm still asleep.
No, I like to get up 4 a.m. in the morning. You know, drink water, not my fruit, go get crazy in the gym, and yeah. So you know what I mean. But that makes me feel amazing. You know what I mean. So that's my thing. But anyway, so it's not even about me. It's about mental health. Mental health, the challenges. What are some of the diagnoses and things that they're dealing with? What are some of the challenges they face because of them, and how do we deal with it? Like you said, it's delicate, it's complex, it's all of these things. I'm gonna give a story. I'm gonna share a story to kind of share with the listeners with the demographic that we're working with. Some things that happens on our day-to-days, and how we deal with them. So like I shared before, I have the GROW program. GROW program is mentors. This one school in particular I had one-on-one contract with, and one of the kids that I work with, actually this wasn't even my kid, but I dealt with him because he has an IEP, and you know, I know him because the smart thing to do is when you go into school is to develop relationships with all the kids, not just the ones you work with in particular, right? It's to develop these real relationships. And for me, developing real relationships oftentimes has to do with being a part of their life, if possible, outside of the school environment. That's why it's like some of the events that I just told you that we planned, we do this stuff and we bring kids. It's not even in our program specifically, because we genuinely want to give back to the community. We genuinely want to build relationships with kids. And again, the story I'm about to tell wasn't actually my kid. But anyway, so I was about to say his name. But so one day we in school, right? And this school, I'm in science class in particular. And this teacher, he's a science teacher. He's not a black man, right? So he never really made the connections with the kids. He just wants to teach his science. He's passionate about science. And that brings me to my first point with my program. Our mantra is a child doesn't care how much you know until they know how much you care, right? Mm-hmm. So you can be the smartest science teacher in the world, but they don't care about that. Can I curse on it? I don't know. I don't want to curse. So anyway, so this day in particular, Wallace, I'll just say this, nobody knows what he is. Wallace coming in the class, and he like, I was about to bang on the desk. He said, "Don't sit nothing on my fucking desk. I'm gonna spit in your face." And then he just laid underneath the desk.
The young man.
The young man did this.
Okay.
Yeah. So, Beans, I don't know if you remember Wallace. Wallace is a little one, but Wallace because Beans was at the school with me too, So yeah, don't put nothing on my motherfucking desk. I'm gonna spit in your fucking face, and then you just laid under the table, right? So Mr. Payton, you know, sometimes the staff, they take this stuff personal, and then it's my time to, you know, show you why I'm not soft or I'm just so mad. I'm gonna meet your challenge, you know, and plus I love science. I'm a teacher and I like to teach, and you gonna learn this science today, you know. So he go over to table. Next thing you know, they up in each other's face. So before I let him get there, I went in and tapped Wallace on the shoulder, like, "Shorty, come here, man, take a walk with me." You know what I mean? So we take a walk, and long story short, I'm like, "Yo, let's go up to the cafeteria, whatever. I got some packs of oatmeal." You know what I mean? As soon as I say the packs of oatmeal, his face lit up. You dig what I'm saying? So we go to the front, he turns out he hungry. So as we eating a pack of oatmeal, I find out Shorty and them living in they was in a bandominium, then they got moved to the church. So they living in the church now. They homeless, the whole family. You dig what I'm saying? And when the kids get picked up, the kids on the van gonna know what that is, right? They gonna tear them up. They burning them up. Shorty homeless. He smell like abandoned house and all that. They going in, right? How you think Shorty gonna feel about herself? You know what I mean? So you know that iceberg. What's that term for that iceberg that you see in the mental health field? It's the iceberg.
Well, stages of development.
Stages of development. So that's a. I wish I could show the listeners the image, but essentially like an iceberg. If you can envision an iceberg, you see the tip of an iceberg, and it seems like this small block of ice, but underneath it is 80 foot, something 100 foot of a long glacier, right? And that's essentially what we're dealing with these kids. So Wallace came in class, said what he said, don't put nothing on my desk, I'm going to spit in your face, whatever. And you want to deal with that behavior. Like, that's bad behavior, right? But what really caused him to speak that way? What really caused him to be where he is, right? And that's where the psych side comes in, right? But you got to care enough. Because if all you want to do is teach and go home, then you're going to look at it like, man, I'm tired of being in these schools, man. I want to teach this science. Well, guess what? Maslow's hierarchy of needs talk about meeting certain needs before we can even talk about anything else. So let's stop acting like our boys is, because I used to sit in the class with this teacher in particular, and we was actually cool. You know, he was a tea partier. Nobody else in the school knew what was up with him, but me and him was cool enough to have real conversations when nobody was around. And they look at our boys as a problem. You know, they're scared of our boys. This dude actually told me, and I think I told you, Beans, before, he said that Zimmerman was a hero. But in his mind, walking down the street 8 o'clock at night, how he feel about that boy who he's supposed to be teaching. In his mind, what Zimmerman did, yeah, he's a hero, because you would be scared walking past that kid 8 o'clock, 9 o'clock, 10 o'clock at night, right? So how you there teaching him, I don't even know. You know what I mean? But anyway, so get back to the story. What I'm saying is these kids are going through all sorts of stuff, right? He doesn't feel great about himself. He's saying his clothes smell like a burning building. They cracking on him, and these kids are relentless. They not going to back up. When you down, they going to come for the kill. So how does he feel about himself? He don't care about science class, no science work, you know? So Shorty was hungry, ate a pack of oatmeal, and we went down to the room. Like I said, that room is lit. We got all sorts of clothes. Shout out to everybody who support us, who come to our parties and have been to the schools. Y'all know what it is if y'all sound of my voice and y'all know the type of clothing drives we've given. I appreciate you all, because that room is so lit with so much clothes. I actually took them down to the room and got them fresh. You know how a person feel when they feel good? Not just these kids and these in the demographic we talking about, you, me, her, him, you know what I mean? Everybody feel better when they look good, you know? And we don't have kids cracking on us, like treating us horrible, you know? So just, first of all, trying to listen more than I talk, understand what the young person is going through, and try to meet their basic needs, and help them find their way through it. And he still did the classwork. I still got him do the classwork. We did it in another classroom, right? After I did all of those things, we went to another classroom where he didn't have an audience. Nobody else was around. And he did that classwork. I always got those kids to do the classwork because they knew whatever I said was coming from a genuine place. They knew I was for them, you know? And I wasn't just the type of person that faked it and smiled in their face in school. I was getting at them outside of the environment. You know what I mean? I was getting at them outside of school. We doing trips on my dollar. Every trip I just talked about, that's my dollar. Ain't nobody, you know what I mean? Ain't nobody coming for us. Ain't nobody coming to help us. The system is deliberate.
Right.
The system is deliberate. I just finished another book, How Europe Underdeveloped Africa. I ain't going to go too far off track because trust me, I will. But poverty is a design. World poverty is a design.
Right.
You know, but I ain't going to go too. We talking about mental health.
that actually falls in as well.
Falls all the way in.
So, one of the things I want to bring up, and I agree with you guys, it's a wide range. Me and Akio, when we spoke on the phone, and one of the things that I talked about, because I'm an old head. I know I don't look like old head, but I'm an old head, and I'm from old school. And when I grew up, it was understood in the household, you do as I say, and if we had any issues, it's to be resolved within the household. There was no thought of, oh, let's go out and get therapy.
Oh, yeah. Right.
You couldn't do it, especially in the black house, because it made it seem like, the house was weak. I can't keep my house in check. And to me personally, going through the things that I've went through, I really didn't necessarily get myself together mentally, because I grew up the way that I said, that I told you guys. And then I was also married and divorced, so I went through that. And then prior to that, I had went through postpartum when I had my twins. And then later on got a divorce. And then years later, me and my ex-husband realized, oh, that's what was going on with you, because neither one of us knew it, which caused our divorce. But I didn't realize it till years later when I decided to go get therapy, because I went from, being married, and now I'm a single mom, and I still couldn't understand what was going on with me mentally and trying to be there for my kids. So I took the initiative to go get therapy, and then that's when I was able to really get a grasp of what was going on with myself, and then making the steps and the moves to, be more productive and being there for my children. But I was scared to do it because of the way I was raised, of not feeling like, thinking that I was a failure if I had went outside of my household to go get therapy. And Mia Keogh was speaking about that. And if you can, go ahead and speak on, what we had spoke about on the phone, or your thoughts about that.
My thoughts about that is, because speaking up, I'm grateful we all having this conversation, because, all of what y'all had said, I was, to be honest with you, be completely transparent. I'm like, yo, what I'm going to say, right? And that's only because that block is still there, right? It's still, forcing me to open up, because even this is somewhat for therapy. We all talk about what's our problems. We rarely talk about that. We talk about the surface problems of bills, but everybody got bills, right?
Right.
So when he was talking, I was that kid, right? I was that kid, and it's similar to your situation, but I'm going to just talk about mine. I was that kid who, the kids were brutally going against me, right? And not only that, you were getting that at home, right? My grades was not good at all, only because of what I was going through at home. Single parent home, grew up in East Baltimore, and let's just say that things started taking a turn. As far as my mother, she didn't have raising us on our own. She didn't have everything she needed to take care of 3 kids. So, granted, you said that church bus that pulled up. My bus was like this bus that came and it was giving government shoes out, right? So these government shoes, they was all laid out in the cafeteria. I went to school 250, Dr. Bernard Harris on Caroline. I was the only kid that went to this table to get a pair of shoes, right? And the kids, they was like, I was wondering why no kid was going up to the table, because they was like, yo, that's the government shoes. They like Pro Wings. But me, I'm like, hey, they a fresh pair of kicks. I don't have that. And what y'all said about that iceberg, right? How it molds you. What was that term again? So we can, what was that term again?
So what's the term?
What was the term?
The stage of change.
Stage of change. So it's essentially talking about, if you imagine an actual iceberg, right? Mm-hmm. You see the top of the iceberg, and then the water here, right? Mm-hmm. So it seems small, right? However, underneath the water it's a glacier. Mm-hmm. So that image is used in terms of mental health, because what it's saying is, okay, when you look at a child, right? You may look at the problem, right? You say, okay, he just said he was going to spit on the teacher. So that's the little iceberg, the ice at the top, right? Above the water that you can see. What happened? Okay, that behavior, he just did that thing. So underneath is where all the trauma actually is, which caused him to do that small thing.
And now that you've made that clear, it's funny, right, that you just said that, because the trauma that I was literally, because I edit movies as well. I was at 6 Point Pictures. At 6 Point Pictures, it's like in South Baltimore. Y'all know where Pulaski is? Yeah, right? Southwest, is that considered,
that's my neighborhood.
Right? So
that's one of my neighbors.
So where the water main, it just recently they got like a water pipes that, I guess the water system is messed up. So there was some water that was spouting out the pipes, and I seen a person that was, under the influence. I'm not going to say, I don't like to call people fiends. I don't like to do that, because that might be somebody's mother out there, right?
Sure.
So I seen this individual actually getting the greenish liquid out of the pipe, and it was a hot summer day. I flash back to my upbringing. It was a hot summer day in the 90s. I'm Saturday morning, you know, my mother told us, hey, whatever happens in this house, like what you just said, stays in this house. Don't let nobody know what's going on. She was embarrassed because our gas electric was off, and the landlord, she wasn't paying the rent, so she said, you know, the landlord said, okay, I ain't paying the rent, okay, I'm gonna cut y'all water off. Our water was black, and you know, so at this time, you know, I don't know if y'all remember when you're a kid, when your underarms start rocking. I don't know what age that is, but that was the summer day. So I'm outside ripping around and doing my thing, and you know, not knowing anything, and it was a fire hydrant that was the kids was playing in, and I was taking, like, we ain't had plastic water bottles back in the day, but I took the Mystic bottle, which was glass, and I was the water was coming in the gutter, and I kept on trying to like show people that I was about to drink it, only for somebody to say, "Yo, don't drink that." But I literally was about to drink because I was thirsty. We can't make no Kool-Aid. My mother, we barely had anything to scrape up anything. Like child hunger, I've been through that, having ketchup sandwiches, all that, right? So and that still affects me to this day. Whereas though, if I have a meal, I portion my meal. If I go to, like, you know, that's what I'm talking about. But anyway, so I'm getting this water and I'm doing like this. The water's actually coming down and I'm acting like I'm drinking it. And this one kid was like, "Yo, if you drink that water, yo, you're gonna be slow." So I immediately, like, it came this close to my mouth and my tongue. So I'm wiping out my tongue. Hands was dirty. I still didn't kick it. I thought, I'm a kid. I'm thinking that it's still gonna make me slow. I ain't gonna make me slow, or whatever. Yeah. And then I walked towards the kids. They sitting on the steps. And then, as you know, like, now I'm with the kids. So like, they're like, "What's that smell?" Right? And it was like around the corner, it was like this Chinese spot. They said that I smelled like that spot, right? And they kept going, right? You would think that, like how you said, they brutal. They didn't stop at all. And I'm like, yo, I don't know what's going on, because for one, I never had that experience. For two, I really, so my mother said, "Whoever stays in this house, you know, stay in the house." But I let it loose. I said, they told my sisters, like, why your brother smell like that? And I was like, "I water black," and I ran in the house, and I went upstairs, and my mother, if I tell you the beatings I used to get, sticks with electrical tape wrapped around them, like everything you can name, I've gotten beaten with, and that didn't help me. But I'm gonna tell you about that in a minute too. But I went upstairs and you know, all I remember was that we had nosy neighbors. Miss Margaret knocked on the door, was like, "Hey, Gloria, why you got them kids in there with no water and no electricity?" And you know, and she didn't even. My mother didn't even. She was mad. She just started busting out crying because, you know, she really needed help. So Kmart, we had a kerosene lamp. Sometimes we had the water hose coming from our neighbor house to our house to take a bath. And then when I think of the Poe Holmes thing that just recently happened, you know, I lived that. And I didn't just live that for about a month or two. The whole summer was that. And we would do things to kind of help us get through it, with spraying water bottles and just to stay cool. Because we ain't no fans running through the thing. We only had one room was powered by, you know, what we needed to actually use utilities, what have you, as far as like the, you know, TV and stuff like that. But so flashback into that day when I seen that lady drink that liquid out of the water, that thought would never leave me, where, you know, I remember our water was black. We couldn't, you know, so those things still affect me to this day, as far as that analogy that you talked about, the iceberg and mini. Whereas though, like I said, I was homeless. So you see struggle, you implement that, and then you think that it's the norm when you going out to Phoenix, Arizona, you know, because you're on a run, you have 2 warrants, and you implement like this poverty mindset that you thinking that you supposed to do these things, and it's not normal. And then you tell you, and then not only that, that's that. But when you talk about like how I was abused, you're telling your spouse, or you're telling the partner you with, "Oh, I'm gonna treat my kids this way when I have kids. I don't have kids yet." But they were like, "No." And then you realize in your 20s or your 30s that you was abused. You're like, "Wow, I was abused."
Yeah.
Right.
You know what I mean? So, I mean, you know, and that's the story for another time. I mean, because I got a lot of stories, but make a long story short, those do affect you in a way. And then the kids that you talked about, Wallace, I shot you out, Wallace. But we using you as you know, but It's definitely needed, man. It's definitely needed for you to actually step in, and with the kids that be more soulful and creative down the studios is where I teach. Like, I do step outside the box, and I go to the kids wanted me to go to this church, and I'm like, and then when you see these kids and you want to instill in them because they only looking towards you to actually be that person, you got to put yourself, behind yourself, and you like, okay, is that kid, or because the same kids that laugh, and when I tell them my stories, they be the same kids that I can see, and I know that you're going through what I went through. Don't laugh, you know what I mean? Because and then when my mentorship ends, I was the site director tell me that the kid was crying because I know I touched him in a way where I was relatable. You know what I mean? But the other kids, they're gonna. So it's a lot, man. But yeah, to answer your question, that definitely is plaguing the mental health is plaguing our community with just not being able to be open about it, and then you don't want to be embarrassed because as adults, we're not getting cracked on, but at the same token, us opening up about it, it's healing. You get what I'm saying? So
sometimes it's good to get the therapy because you have someone that is a third person that's outside of the situation to help coach you and guide you in the way into healing, especially for people who don't necessarily go to church, because a lot of people feel like, well, I can go to church and seek God, and then there's some people that don't, have that relationship and see it that way. So go and get therapy. Then now I think about it, some people may not necessarily have insurance. So what do they do?
There are programs and there are things set up in place where you can still receive therapy even without insurance, because thank God we had the Obamacare, the Affordable Care Act, because you could still get state insurance, Medicaid, that could help cover. So, there are provisions in place, and like some therapists have sliding fee scales. I don't want to get too technical about the insurance things, but there's different ways you could get coverage for therapy.
Okay, that's good.
Yeah, with our program, what we're going to do is we created a nonprofit arm. So what we're going to do is at our facility start taking on some kids through the nonprofit arm, because every child won't necessarily get Medicaid, but they still going to need the services or they still going to need to be linked up with the program. So that's going to be an outlet, an avenue, an opportunity.
We can go on a music break, Nick. Don't mess up the mic this time.
Make sure you make the right ones. You know how we do. Yeah, drop that real life. Yeah. Check it. Hey, yo, it's no joke. Cold outside, see someone no coat. Cause his mom loved to smoke coke. It's the beginning with Moses. Life is so rough. Sometimes you get down in your luck, and how you raise affect the way you grow up. Man, picture this, a young boy, no father to guide him, no male figure there to talk to or help with his problem. Never had a chance to see what's inside him. He chose the street life. Dropped out of school early so his fam could eat right. Only 16, mature from all the things he done seen. Street smart, mastered every way of getting that cream. Know how to buck shots, stuck cops, cook up rocks. Big valves, colorful tops, he flooding the block. Mom's praying he stopped, but he in too deep. Feeling himself, getting respect for his material wealth. Pushing $50,000 with flashing his chips. Packing fifth with hollow stacked in the clip. And yo, he really need the
you already know we out. You already know we out here. Hey, look, this the motto right now. Dumb ain't slick, and I'm behind a whole new movement.
It's the Save the Dope Boy movement, my man. Ooh, hey, how y'all feeling? It's Brown Fist, aka Yo Slick, the whole Save the Dope Boy movement. Listen, y'all, we putting music
agency together to raise funds and awareness for youth employment. We try and get these young boys some jobs, keep them off the streets, so ain't a whole bunch of non-violent drug offenders locked up in the penal system. You already know what it is. Dumb ain't slick. We try and get everybody popping. The whole Save a Dope Boy movement, we just on it right there. Dope
We
Boy,
on
that's the anthem
it.
right
Save a Dope Boy. You gotta check this single out though.
Hey, he don't eat right,
but he smoke good. Check out the new single.
Yo, Slick. Yo, Slick. Yo,
Big old. Big H. He don't need right, but he smoke good. He don't sleep at night, cause he a dope boy. Yeah, he a dope boy. Yeah, he a dope boy. Yeah, he a dope boy. Dope. Hey. He don't eat right, but he smoke good. He don't sleep at night, cause he a dope boy. Yeah, he a dope boy. He a dope boy. Yeah, he a dope boy. He give him hell in the hood, but his grandmother love him. Before 5 years, the last time he seen his mother. He don't know his dad, him and his mama name matching. He look just like this nigga around the corner, scared to ask him. His auntie had a check for him, she don't never check for him. Shoes ain't got a check on him, tests ain't got a check on him. He can barely read. Fuck school. How the hell you concentrate when they laughing at your shoes? And he's boom to all the dirty dudes. So he be switching moods and he be acting fool. They give him therapy and drugs when all they really need is some love. Hey, he don't eat right, but he smoke good. He don't sleep at night, cause he a dope boy. Yeah, 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 he a dope boy. He don't eat right, but he smoke good. Yeah, he don't sleep at night, cause he a dope boy. Yeah, he a dope boy. Yeah, he a dope boy. Yeah.
Hey everybody, it's your girl Karma the Media Diva. You're tuned in to Karma's Come Around and our 2-hour special on mental health awareness. I have my guests with me tonight, Kyle, Daiwi, and Akio. I don't know why I always...
What?
Akio.
Yeah, you got it.
I said it right.
You
See,
said it right. You said Akayo.
I did.
You did.
Y'all gonna laugh at that? Y'all heard that?
I can't believe she keep getting mine right.
Because you spelled yours out. It was
Phonetically.
not- right.
Oh, see, that's what I do on my social media. I give them the phonetic, so you can't even forget it. Everybody's a
can't.
visual learner, whether they know it or not. When
I
you
know
see
I
it-
am. I'm
when
telling
see
you
it,
right now.
D-I-E,
Yep.
die. You gonna
Die.
die,
We.
and then a dot, and then we. You can't mess that up.
See?
Phonetics.
I'm special. So we've been having some really good dialogue. We've covered basically about the kids, right? So I want to try to discuss mental health awareness within our community with our black men. And who better to speak about it than you guys, right? I always tell people sometimes I get along a lot better with my young women, but then occasionally here and there, you know, I have a relationship with young men. And I always tell them that, you know, I was a single parent with my oldest. And I can't remember what time point in his life, but up until then, I was always told, you know, you can raise that boy to be a man, da-da-da, whatever. And at one point in his life, I started to realize, no, I cannot, because I'm not a man. I can teach him how, you know, a woman should be treated the way I would want to be treated, but I cannot teach him to be a man. And I know a lot of young boys, unfortunately, are raised in a single family home with just a mother, and either the father is incarcerated, died, or just don't want to be in the picture. And I already know that that also plays into mental health. So can you guys help shed some light on our listeners about being a black man in a community and the mental health awareness that they should be aware of? Because again, we're here to talk, and that's one thing that I've learned is that that's the first step of mental health is being comfortable enough to speak about it.
I want to share a story real quick. So you said that I like the way you were saying that great mother. We got the queens doing their thing. But he was saying that you can't teach him how to be a man, right? Just like in the wild, you need that lion to just walk and be a lion, and the cub is going to emulate him, etc. Right? So I got a quick story, and then I'm gonna let the brothers speak. But so I said the other day, Lanice, she had a crisis at her house, right? So, you know, real friends, that's how we do. I had a hugely busy day, but it's when friends call, we shut it down. That's how she do for me. That's how I do for her. All my friends, that's how we go, right? So we just I shut it down. I run over the house. They're going house flooded, right? Her water heater broke or whatever, right? So we down there, we got the wetbacks, we getting it all up, et cetera, right? So as we get it done, we talking. They came in and replaced the heater, whatever. So we talking about 30 minutes or an hour in. The daggone thing exploded again. Water everywhere. It's gushing, going crazy. So this was the teachable moment, right? So Lanice, she's losing it, right? She's like, she running around. It's crazy, right? And then Ethan, her son, he's like responding to her, and he's like, you know, screaming too. And so long story short, once we got it under, because we did get it back under, right? So I said, Ethan, two things, right? So we talking right now about men being where they're supposed to be in the community, in the household, showing these boys how to roar and walk like lions, right? I said, Ethan, two things, man. I said, one, when the water was going crazy, right? No, the first one I gave him was the bugs, right? So we in a basement, right? So obviously it's gonna be some bugs, right? So Ethan touching stuff, right? And he's touching as if he doesn't want any bugs crawling on him, right? So I said, let me tell you something, man. I said, that's cool. You can feel how you want to feel about that bug, right? I said, but if you find right now, because this is family, that's your mother, that's cool. That's the woman that's in here right now. But in your lifetime, right, when a woman call you over, I don't care if she's your friend, your business colleague, or somebody you're in a relationship with, she call you over, man, listen, man, I don't care how you feel about that bug or that cobweb, man. You better touch it like it don't bother you, Jack. She calling you for stability. She calling you to be a rock. She calling you for, you understand? No, she's a queen. She got all these strengths that she do her own thing. But right now, she needs you to take charge. You know what I mean?
That's preach.
So that was one. He said, Mr. Dawei, what's two? What's number two? You eager for this? Okay, well, you gonna get number two. I said, what? Ethan's 16. Dang, 16 now? Dang, he getting old. But he's been like my mentee for years. But anyway, so he said, Mr. Dawei, what's number two? I said, man, don't you ever. Listen, man. When you in the household, man, you got one job, man. Be stable, man. When things is going crazy and things is hectic, you be stable and figure it out. You dig what I'm saying?
Thank you. Yes, Lord. Yes.
Yo, on cue with it. You be stable and figure it out. He said, what you talking about? I said, yo, you was screaming too, man. I said, the water going crazy, man. Yeah. I said, yo, you screaming too, man. She screaming, she running around. I said, no, man, you don't do it. I said, man, what was I? I'm telling her, calm down, keep calm. You know what I mean?
Right.
The house ain't gonna float away. We gonna get it together at some point.
Right.
You know what I mean? So that's what's missing a lot of times is the lions just walking. Half the time, you ain't gotta be teaching all the time. Just walk. You know what I mean? Walk how you supposed to walk anyway.
The stability, I like that.
Yeah, stability. But go ahead, though. I just let the brothers talk. I just want to share a story.
You have kids. You have a son, or just all girls?
I have all girls. All three of them are daughters.
But still, you still, as a man, you still have an example to show.
Absolutely.
So going back, remember I talked a little bit ago about the crack and where people learn things from. So again, it's technically social learning theory. So being a parent and living home with my wife and our three daughters, they see me, and one thing they see all the time is daddy's going to work. You know, like whether I'm at my 9 to 5 or I work till midnight on my part-time. Like one thing they know for a fact is daddy's working. And if daddy's not working, daddy's home. And if daddy's not home, I'm in the community doing things because I represent my community as an elected official. So, like, but they always see daddy doing things and manly things. You know, like, I know I could get in a lot of trouble for making that statement because of our current political climate.
careful.
So I have to walk on eggshells with that statement, but whatever. No, but you know, Daddy. They always see Daddy being a man. Like my wife can also attest. Like I'm always a man, and I think it's important that my girls see that, so that way they have a certain expectation of other men. You know, as they get older and eventually they're going to date and get married and all that good stuff. So it's good that they see that. I think it's also good for people in the community, because one thing I've always noticed, especially since I've gotten married, I've been married going on 5 years in September. People in the community notice, and they'll pull me aside, like, man, look, I love what you do with your kids. You know what I mean? Like, I like how you open up the door for your wife, and, you know, things like that. Or I've been like, so my wife and I go to 2 different churches, but I've been going to church with her more often since we had baby number 3. And one thing people always say is like they like how we interact with each other and all that kind of stuff. And it's definitely impactful, because you realize if this group of people see you, what do the younger group? Because they look for something. You know what I mean? Like I know
they're watching when you think they're not watching.
Exactly. Like I look growing up. So I grew up in Westport, like I mentioned earlier, over in the Mount Winans area. And the jobs that we saw was, you had one guy that used to work for the post office. Everybody worked for Bethlehem still, and you had 1 or 2 school teachers and daycare providers scattered about, and I think it was like 1 or 2 people that worked at Sherwin-Williams. So when it was time for me to graduate high school and go on to college, because you know, Mama ain't had no problem rushing you off to college. So you going to the military, you going to college. So I went to college because W. Bush was in office. There you go. So, you know, I went to college, but I didn't know what I wanted to do, because, like, do I want to be a male guy? Like, no, I don't want to do that. I don't want to be a cop. That's dead.
I thought you was about to say male stripper the way you... No, I'm just joking.
Well,
I'm
that
just
was
joking.
in a previous life, and we're not going to talk about that here. My name was Honey Dutch. But, but you know, like, so it's like one of those things that you don't know what you want to do. And so again, people learn how to be a man from watching men, you know, and you could get the either a real good male role model, or you could get the horrible male role model. You know what I mean?
Or there's an in-between.
And there's an in-between.
Because sometimes you have fathers that are in the picture, but they're not necessarily a good example, and then a young man grows up and brings that into his future relationship, thinking that that's the proper way, and it isn't.
Yep.
Absolutely. So your question, what I took away from all of what you were saying, I'm glad y'all go first before I go. You know, I appreciate that. You know, give me a chance to get what I'm going to say out, because I'm long with it. Forgive me. You know what I mean? But
take your time.
What you were saying about, like, what is the experiences of a black man and what they go through on a day-to-day, or in their life for that matter. And when you said that, I flashed into everything y'all was saying. I flashed to when this young brother said that teacher said that George Zimmerman was a hero. I thought about all that, right? Because, you know, one thing that I remember when I was, I lived on 419 East Lafayette one time, and my mom always used to say, do not leave the house, or if you leave the house, stay where you at. I didn't know she said that for my safety, but you know me, I always like to roam the streets, do what I do, X, Y, and Z. But one time I decided to, speaking of what we were just talking about earlier about I don't know if you ever see The Wire. In the beginning, it was like this mirror of Baltimore, right? You ever seen that, you know? But specifically in the 90s where I grew up at, that mural was still there before the mayor decided, I think it was either Sheila Dixon or Rollins Bay, they decided to take that mural down. But on Kirk Avenue, that whole area in the 90s was like lit, you know what I mean? So 2 o'clock in the morning, and you know, this is crazy. Now, see, when I talk about it, I'm like, yo, I was crazy back in the day, right? When I used to walk in the middle, like 2 or 3 o'clock in the night, I used to like kind of like tug my baggy pants, so to speak. I had an iceberg shirt on. I'm telling my age. I had my iceberg shirt on with some butters, and I'm walking with a dip because I didn't want to be robbed. You know, because a lot of people got robbed there late at night. So I would just kind of like, and I might have played the part so well because somebody had called the police on me, right? So I'm walking, I'm about to leave, and I'm about to exit North Avenue, and these 3 knockers came, and they approached me. And I was 16. Wow, I was 16 at the time, right? And they put a gun to my face. I got a gun drawn to my face twice in my life, when I was 11 years old and when I was 16. You pulled a gun to my face, and he was they was like, they said you had a firearm and you don't move, and then they stripped me down. They took my to the ankles. I mean, butterball naked. They checking my ass cheeks and all that. I mean, they could have got a molesting charge for all that matter, right? You know what I mean? But anyway, you know how they is. They filed, but I ain't had no gun on me. They say you did a good job, and they skid off. I'm like, dang, y'all ain't even help me put my pants up. I go home, and I just was feeling what my mother was saying, like, look, stay where you at. But as a black man, look at that incident. I'm leaving, no matter what time of the day is, I'm leaving to go to a place and go home, and I got to worry about acting like I'm carrying a firearm so nobody won't rob me. Then I gotta act like, certain, and then you got police about to get, try to pretty much harass you and put a gun to your face as a 16-year-old, and nobody deserves that. And nowadays, I'm grateful by the grace of God, because what if that would have happened now?
Right.
They don't even ask questions now. They didn't even ask questions then, because it was, we had different incidents. But now things are with social media where we
hear about it more.
We hear about it more. But for that matter, when I was 11 years old, I remember it was another time that and this is the guilt that a kid would feel when my mother was dating a drug dealer. My sister was playing Game Gear, and my mother always just say, it was always rules, right? Don't answer the door at 10 o'clock. I answered the door thinking it was my mother's boyfriend, and it wasn't. And this guy, he comes in, because he was a big time drug dealer, the guy that my mother was dating, so people knew what was going on. This guy comes in the vestibule, and the TV was playing, so I've seen a little bit of what's going on, but the vestibule was dark. He comes in, he had a knot of money wrapped in a gun, and he says, hey, I want you to get this to your mother. And then as I'm seeing the light from the TV, I see it's a pistol inside the knot of money. And I'm like, whoa. So I sit down on the couch, and, as a kid, what plagued in my mind, even still to this day, was like, wow, we were about to move. Like, with that money that was taken from my household, that money we was about to move into a house and move from around the way. Because it was in that incident, after that incident, that's when we struggled. That's when the gas electric was off. That's when the lights was off. So can you imagine as a kid and your grades, I always got U's and 2's. They might have changed now, but I never did good in school. Never. And then my mother beating me, she's thinking that was going to help me. It don't. I'm just never ever going to learn the lesson. You get what I'm saying? So I would say to answer your question, from the beginning to middle age, those things do play a significant factor in your life and how you make decisions and how you actually go about things. And now I feel like now that I'm 35 years old, I'm now doing what I should have been doing versus being 25, robbing and doing all those other things that those kids that you talk about, that you mentor, what they do, that they think is cool. Or for me, for that matter, when I was homeless, I didn't do it because I thought it was cool. I did it because that was the only way I was going to be able to eat. Sticking steaks in your dip, you know what I'm saying? All these other things. So, but and my old thing was, if I don't have it, I'm taking it. You know what I mean? Because I need it. You know what I mean? At the end of the day, and that in itself, I don't know if that is a circumstance of mental health too, because it's not normal, right? You know what I mean? Right. So and so yeah, but it's just so much. But it's really tough as us as individuals growing up, and luckily we survive, because no matter what background you come from, you can be a therapist, you can be a mentor, a teacher, and all the accolades that you have. You can be you, black women as well, because y'all hold a tremendous weight to holding it down. You know what I mean? Whereas though my mother, it can stem to heart disease and health, and your relationships. With me, for example, being in a long-term relationship, it don't work out. I wasn't never married, but I was in a 7-year relationship, and you did all you can. You thinking that you the perfect person. Now, there's no such thing as perfect, but you thinking that you're doing everything, and then it's for it to crumble, because they said that, like you said, the mental health also comes with you losing a loved one, but they say a breakup or a divorce is similar to you actually losing a loved one as well. So that trauma plays in, and then you got to start all over again. You got the reset button. And then you holding on to that old stuff that doesn't even is relevant to the relationship that you're in now, and then that can actually damage your new relationship, because you putting old wine into new wineskins. You get what I'm saying? And that it tastes bitter. You know what I mean? You're bitter, and it's like that healing needs to come about. So we need therapy. We need to talk about it. We need to have more conversations about it, for us to make sure our generations don't suffer. You know what I mean? That comes after us. So that's pretty much my spill on it.
I encourage more brothers to have conversations with other brothers. At this stage in my life, me and my friends, we communicate with each other in ways we never communicated in our entire lives. We've been through the realest, and we realize now that the way that we interact with people, we realize the way that we love, the way that we love in relationships and all type of things has been affected with the way we came up, right? Mm-hmm. And definitely won't get into my story, but it's a lot of movies out there, a lot of TV shows that I didn't even have to watch because I did it for real, you know what I mean? Me and my friends, we did it for real, on the highest levels. And that came with a lot of drama, it came with a lot of loss of life, came with a lot of flashy things, a whole lot of flashy things. But it affected us, deeply. But we mature enough to know that, like, you'd be like, yo, and we have real conversations. It's like about our relationships, business, or just how we deal with people, and sometimes like even like with Lanice, we talking about a relationship, a business relationship with somebody. Maybe sometimes my toughness. I say all the time, like some people who's just on the outside who don't know the story, me from the 90s and all that, they might see, oh, Dot Weed just, he's Martin Luther King or he's Mandela, and I'm like that. I'm positive, I'm peaceful, but they don't know, They don't know, I'm Khalid Shabazz, I'm Malcolm X, a little Tupac, I just be wearing suits now, but all of that toughness, man, and sometimes the walls that we put up, not able to be available, not able to be available emotionally the way we should be. I'm learning, I'm growing, I'm learning, and I talk with solid dudes on these levels about how we should be more available, and just different things. I don't necessarily have the words because I'm growing myself.
Would you say that the individuals that you surround yourself with, and for you as well, you're a therapist, right? But who do you go to? Because at the end of the day, and who do you go to when y'all have, and all y'all have like these big, and I know everybody got, even your cinematographer, your photographer. It's like, who do we go to as being creators when that breaking point hits? You know what I'm saying? So start with you, Kyle.
All right, I'll start. So let me flip this around real quick. I like to be transparent. Hey guys. So last year on July 5th, my father died. Right. So it was a crazy situation. He had a heart attack and he died last year. So as y'all know, I'm a therapist. So I work at Healthcare for the Homeless, and I work at Crisis Response. So right after he died, I took some time off. Went through it hard because my dad was my man, $100,000. Like, I got introduced to racism through my dad, and I'm gonna go to the story and then I'll get back to July 5th. So, when we was younger, my dad worked at Bethlehem Steel, so he worked a double, and he came home one day. I'm downstairs playing like the Atari or the Nintendo 1-Up, whatever system it was. Like, I'm downstairs being a kid,
Back in the day.
And he comes home like, hey, look, get your bike. We're going over to the park. I'm going to teach you how to ride your bike without training wheels. I'm like, okay, dope. All right, let's do this. So we grabbed the bike. We go over to Curl Park. Because like I said, we lived in Mount Winans, Westport. So Curl Park is the closest park nearby. And back in that era, in our neighborhood, you could look on the ground and see about a whole bunch of broken needles or whatever like that. Like when we play football in the streets, we play tackle football, but we ain't go down. You get what I'm saying? So he took us to Curl Park, and Curl Park is over in Pigtown area, right? So back then it was predominantly white, and it's not like how it is now where you see blacks and whites over there. It was all white back then. So we go over there, and he's teaching me how to ride my bike. And, he took the training wheels off, and he's showing me the ropes. I would say we were over there maybe 15 minutes, and a whole rack. I would say that whole southern district of police officers came over there, guns and everything. Like, mind you, my dad still has on his Bethlehem Steel uniform, the little blue thing with your name tag on. Like, he still had that on. I'm a kid. What is he doing that you had to call it? And they politely told us, hey, y'all got to go. You can't be here. He's like, what is all this for? What am I doing? You can't be here. And politely escorted us off the thing. So, mind you, that's trauma. So let's hold on to that for a little bit. So, because as we go on, we'll talk more about like the development of trauma and stuff like that. But July 5th of last year, my father died. Right. So this man I love like this. You know what I mean? Like I said, this is the type of guy that will work 2 shifts, come home, and still make time to be daddy. You get what I'm saying? So. He dies. He had a heart attack. He had it the Sunday before Father's Day. He had a heart attack, and he was in the hospital. He went in that Thursday before Father's Day to the hospital, and that was it. Like, you know, from there he went to hospice, whatever. So, working as a therapist, still trying to do my job, and finally it took off. He died. I took some time to myself to really grieve, and my first day back. Sorry for hitting on the table. My first day back, worked the morning shift at my job. Then I worked at night at Crisis Response. First call I get, as soon as I walk in the door, there's a shooting at the Gazette over in Annapolis. So I had to go down there, talk to the people in the community. There was the mayor of Annapolis down there, Ben Cardin, the senator, you know, all those people down there. And I'm supposed to be down there offering support for a shooting. If I didn't take that time for self-care, I could have did a lot of damage to those people who needed support. You get what I'm saying? Like, so, like, I always think, like, you have to take time to, like, really work on yourself. You know what I mean? Because in this kind of light, like, one second where you're not operating at 100%, like you're just doing 90 or 86%, you're damaging somebody and long-term damage to somebody. So, I actually did see a therapist about the death of my dad, because that was my man, $100,000. Like last year was the roughest watching sports, last year and this year, because like we watched every game together. Like he was a huge baseball fan, like he was a beast playing baseball, like growing up. So we watched every baseball game together, basketball, football. Like Ravens. Oh, last season sucked for me, not because of the team, but because like. My last memory of football with him was when we drafted the quarterback that we got. You know what I mean? And he never even got to see dude play. You know, so it was weird. So, but like I said, I could have did a lot of damage if I didn't take time to heal myself. And I'm going out trying to heal the world. You get what I'm saying? So,
yeah, that's powerful. My mother died of a heart attack too. You know, but I never. It's like I had 3 days off for work, and I went right back to work. But I feel like my vacation was when I went to Australia for 30 days. And that was like
that was a vacation.
That was a miracle too.
That was a vacation.
Yeah. But that was a miracle in itself because, like I told y'all before, a little bit of myself. I have a record in Phoenix, Arizona, and Baltimore, and I thought that those things was going to hinder me from going to Australia. But when you continue to push forward, right? When you continue to operate on faith, God will. You know, remove those obstacles and actually, you know, the divine in yourself and your thought. Like I said, okay, got this LOA. I already paid up my rent for like 2 months. You know what I'm gonna do? I said, if I get the opportunity to go, or if I don't go, I'm gonna just basically say, I'm gonna just come back for 30 days to find out ways to be financially independent. That was my goal. I don't know how I was gonna do that, but I was gonna do that, right? Yeah. But anyway, I go out there. They said check the box. They say, hey, if you don't check the box, you know. Well, I basically said I'm gonna blame jet lag for me not checking yes or no. Because I had to do a 6th class visa for my fingerprint. When I started teaching, they had made me do the same thing too, because they're very strict. So anyway, I did all that. Got to customs in Australia. They was like, they pulled me to the side. They was like, hey, Mike, you know, come over here, right?
You got the accent down. First, you know, be hard now.
I was like, yeah. They was like, hey, what are you doing out here? What brought you to Australia? I said, I said, I'm giving, and everything I said I was going to do, I did. I said, I'm giving back to the homeless. I'm donating my art to the homeless, and I'm supposed to be attending a wedding, you know, which I really was doing. He was like, you know what, you seem like a good lad. What you've done, we're just going to look at it as a DUI for now. He was like, enjoy, Mike. And he let me go. Chris Brown can't go to Australia. Snoop Dogg can't go to Australia. those celebrities or not, they're very strict. So for me to have like the making of the forging of the licenses and the checks and the money, that's another story in itself. The Feds raided my house in 2004, took my computer, and I was always making clothes, but I started taking it serious, and I was off and on. As I keep telling you, I was off and on. But yeah, they let me through, and I was just like, wow. So, but those 30 days, I felt like I brought my mother locks with me, and I cut her locks when we was revealing her body. And out there, I had tied her locks to these 3 different resorts out there as tourists. So I feel like her spirit was with me. She knew that I was gonna actually do that. And those are, the day that I left from Australia, I never told this to anybody. The day that I had to leave, I cried. Right? It wasn't because I miss home, but I cried because I knew that I had to go right back into going 90 miles per hour. I teach, I do movies, I do all those things. I knew I had to go back to the machine. And I was like, wow. You know what I mean? But I said, you know what? I'm appreciative. I had that. But my mother died in 2012. I didn't go to Australia until 2016. So all those years, and then a lot has happened between that. But, and it's needed. What you just said, I mean, I can admit, and I will admit on this radio station, that I do suffer with getting. I'm not going to act like I'm almighty now. I need to get therapy as well, and I'm now going to network with you, Kyle, to actually find out other ways where I can get that. Because when you said you lost your pops and you needed that, what's inside of me? What's inside you, Karma, for all the stuff that you've been through? But you said you are doing that. But going back to you now, I'm leaving it to you. What do you feel like is
First off, I want to backtrack for a second. And when I said that I wasn't going to go into my story, and I won't. But there's a reason that I said that. I don't want to just seem like I'm being shut
Absolutely.
off. Because I don't share much of this story with the kids either, because it can come across as glorified, right? So if I talk about how I was, you know what I mean. So because that's all kids want to hear is how much money you was getting back in the day. So that's why I don't talk about that part. So. Let's get back to actual trauma, because that's what if I talk about anything, I want to talk about the trauma from those years, right? So, and I'm still the same thing. I'm actually therapy for me. Let me just talk about how I work through things and how I process things. One, I have very healthy regimens, right? For me, stress reliever is like. I don't necessarily do yoga, but the stretching, the working out, the eating healthy, I feel amazing. I feel like I'm on drugs, man. I'm telling you, no joke. Like the way I feel, I still do a mile in 7 minutes. You know what I mean? None of that's it's a joke to me. Like the way I feel, it actually helps my body and soul. But having great friends, Lenise Beans, I got friends who I talk to and get real feedback, So what you call it, a soundboard, Lenise? Like you say, well, no, we have the thought partner, but you were saying that the other person, somebody has a soundboard and they just validates their wrongness, right? I don't do that. Like I got real friends, and anybody know if you want to be my friend, like I'm like, yo, I'm raw, like I'm really raw. I wear suits, but man, listen, man, I'm raw, man. And because I like the truth. I like the real truth. And the truth oftentimes isn't in our favor. But that's how we grow and that's how we evolve. So if you don't have those type of people around you that's going to tell you the truth about yourself, you're not going to grow. You're not going to grow. You got to look in that mirror and be like, yo, man, damn, okay. Have I been this way or that way? And grow from those areas. And even in my field, I'm going to take advantage more. I'm going to take more advantage of actual therapy and getting with people who I trust and building a strong relationship with therapists that I really trust and that I connect with. And I'm glad I met this brother too, you know what I mean? So to answer your question in terms of therapy, I was talking about the conversations I have with my close homeboys that I came up together with, and we created the music record label and all of those things we was doing all throughout the 90s. And I had been through those things with those people, right? So when we sit around and talk and we have Thanksgiving together, we have dinner together, and they got kids, and we sit around and talk, our conversations are different, and it's actually therapeutic. We're talking about the trauma that we've been through, how it made us feel, how this loss of life made us feel, how a tough situation that we had to handle, that we felt we had to handle, how that dealt with us and how we felt afterwards. We're a group, and we actually are therapy to each other, right? And we really talk to each other. We know we're being therapy to each other. We talk about men who come from a lifestyle that says strong and thorough is associated with lack of emotion, and willing to be extremely violent at the drop of a hat, and that's nothing. You go have drinks after that, right? Now we have evolved to a level where we understand how destructive and disruptive and all those things, how negative those things were, and how we're trying to be better human beings. You know, so to answer your question, I got a group of guys that I came up with. We actually talk to the level where it's therapy amongst us. I have.
We're gonna wrap it up.
Okay. I have a lot of things that I do within my personal life that's therapeutic to me, and I have therapists around me and ones who I'm going to develop long-term relationships with. So that's what I'm going to be therapy.
That's powerful.
I didn't want to interrupt you because you was in it. Real quick, piggyback. I pretty much agree with what you do. That's what I do. I have a very, very tiny, like just tiny, of a circle of people that keep it real with me. Because I can't, like you said, you can't grow if you don't keep those type of people around you. I don't want someone that's just going to appease me and say yes to everything. But then at the same time, you have to be willing and able to have some, because there's some people who are very pig-headed and don't want to have anyone around because they're stuck in their ways, and have someone there to say, no, you're wrong and you need to do better. And those people get therapy. That's what I'm going to say. So I have a little, before we end, it's 5 everyday ways to promote mental health awareness. 1, challenge your assumptions and stereotypes. 2, watch your language. Words matter. And what that means is, for instance, what you were saying earlier when you was talking about, you said you didn't want to say fiend because that could be somebody's mother. So people need to really watch what they say. If you're talking to someone, don't say, oh, you crazy, you psycho, you bipolar. You know, you can't say that to people, because if they are for some reason, it makes them feel worse. Or if they're not, it makes them feel like, well, am I? Number 3, talk openly about mental health. 4, choose respect and be kind. And 5, support organizations that support mental health. I put down a few: National Alliance on Mental Illness, Mental Health America, the Traver Project, the American Foundation of Suicide Prevention, and the Treatment Advocacy Center. So I want to thank you guys for coming tonight. Real quick, can you go around and give everybody your social media? You have your book out, where they can get your book, and so on.
My name is Kyle Berkeley. I'm on Facebook with the name Kyle Berkeley. I'm on Instagram at Berkeley for Us, same as Twitter. Berkeley for Us. 4 is the digit 4. My book is out on Amazon, Barnes & Nobles, Google Play, iTunes. I think every platform right now is out on, except for audiobook. I need to work on that.
It's coming.
You gotta do the
Speaking
audiobook.
into existence.
Yeah, you gotta do the audiobook.
Yeah. Matter of fact, I'm looking for volunteers right now for audiobook.
Oh man. On social media, my social media on Instagram is Diwee, DIWEE _SEWELL, and I'm on Facebook and stuff like that, but I'm mainly on Instagram. I'm keeping it short. That's where I'm at.
My daughter told me Facebook is for old folks.
Yo, that's what they say. That's what they say.
And you can find me Instagram. I'm Akio Evans. That's AKIO.
Why you giving me the side
EEANS. I'm on there. All my social media platforms, be it YouTube. That's all, man. You can catch me there.
And give, just in case if people are tuning in late, your program, and also yours, Kyle.
Yeah, my program is, my mentoring program is the GROW program. And we're actually doing some free events for the community. If you got boys ages 14 to 21, you want to bring them out. We're doing a watch party for the documentary when they see us. We're going to do it at the office, so we're going to have lunch. We're going to have some giveaways. We're going to do some Q&A. It's going to be real fun. You could hit up my page again, DIWEE_SEWELL. Hit me up on Instagram. The flyer's up on the page. We also have a trip we're doing to D.C. for a tour called Egypt on the Potomac. And again, we cover all the expenses for this. So single mothers out there looking to do something with their sons, don't want to spend no money, we doing it. We got you. We got you.
Awesome. And my organization is called the For Us Initiative. We do transitional housing / emergency shelter for homeless women and families and women fleeing from domestic violence situations. And we also do preventative care for youth through our PX program.
You have anything promoting? You promoting anything?
Well, I do have the sneaker paint nights that we're about to have within the next month or so. It's going to be at Bird in Hand. It's a cafe that's off of 33rd and Charles Street. And also, I have a screening that I'm about to have for the Made of Baltimore Film Festival. The project that I worked with Felicia Pearson on her documentary was based off our book, Grace at the Midnight. We are actually releasing that. And also, I have an art exhibit that I'm about to have at FRS Bmore. That's on Cathedral Street. So it's a few things in the mix. But if you do follow me at Ikeo Evans, then you'll be able to find all those things that I should post. Thank you.
No problem. Again, thank you guys for coming tonight. It was a very good dialogue. We used the 2 hours very well. Listeners, I hope you guys took note to everything that we discussed. Again, share your story with friends and families, because you never know what difference you can make in their life. I want to give a quick shout out to my little mini-me, my daughter. She is, it's officially a year of her being in the Army, in the military, and I'm so proud of her. I love you, Moo. Good night, everybody. I will be doing so I'm not doing a show once a week like I used to. It's just once a month. So tune in every second Thursday. See y'all later.
You're listening to IBNX, IBNXradio.com.
Hey guys, thanks for listening to Karma's Come Around with your girl Karma the Media Diva. You can catch tonight's live show next Wednesday from 7 to 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And of course, keep your ear to the airwaves, because a new live show will follow at 8 p.m. Don't forget to follow us on Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, and YouTube at Karma's Come Around. This is our truth. What's yours?